when you do the share, it just shows screen, when I want to share. Is that screen, is that the desktop?
Yeah, normally the first one is the desktop.
Okay, because right now it says entire screen, and then underneath it shows screen in that. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, you don't want to share the app because then you're just stuck in that app, and sometimes that doesn't work well.
No,
It's
correct,
better
and
to
that's, yeah,
do your desktop.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah, this is a quiet group.
Well, everybody's muted.
Trish, I don't know if you can actually hear us, but you're right. If you were talking, we couldn't hear you.
For some reason, she's coming in not as a panelist. So I'm bring her in. Now we'll be able to see her. And I don't know why it's doing
Trish,
that.
say something.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome to the
Sorry
group.
about that.
Thank you.
All right, I guess we'll get started at 7 o'clock. We got a fair amount of people here. Welcome everybody. I'm going to start us off because I worked with Jamie here on a number of talks for both the digital forum. I don't think she's talked with this group yet, but she's done 3 talks for digital forum, and Paula at Lens Baby got this all put together for us. So I figured, why not? I like Lens Baby, so it's always interesting. So Jamie is a Lens Baby ambassador, an accomplished freelance outdoor and nature photographer, is passionate about capturing and sharing the beauty of the natural world. From macro and abstracts to landscapes, she embraces the old and finds special beauty in decay and fading cultural lifestyles. Jamie, enamored with all kinds of flowers, incorporates her interpretive style that reflects her love for blooms. Through her company, New Life Photos, she conducts photo workshops, teaches, and presents at various events with the goal of encouraging and inspiring others to enhance their photography skills and find their unique visual voice. You can find more, and I think we've put her website out, newlifephotos.com. She does great stuff with lens babies, flowers, infrared. Really has a lot of interesting stuff. So, Jamie, I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, I am going to share my screen in just a second, but I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me to share on Lens Baby. I was an ambassador. There was an ambassador program, and then that ended, and now I am a trailblazer.
Oh, is that what they call it now?
Yes, yes, one of 25 trailblazers in the world. If that tells you anything, I love Lens Baby, and so hopefully some of you either have Lens Babies or have seen them, know a little bit about them, but I'm going to give you kind of a rundown. I'm going to share my screen now, give you a rundown on Lens Baby. And this is, well, I love flowers, as Jeff has already said. And so if I could only photograph one thing for the rest of my life, it would be flowers. And this was shot with a Sweet 22, which is a standalone lens. And you'll hear all about more of this coming up, and you'll probably see that shot again. But I want to start just with a quote. Galen Rowell wrote, "At the heart of all photography is an urge to express our deepest personal feelings, to reveal our inner hidden selves, to unlock the artist. And I started photography late, in my mid-30s, in between two diagnoses of breast cancer. And during the second period of going through treatment, I could not be in public. So my respite was being outdoors, photographing in Duke Gardens in Durham, North Carolina. That was probably one of my favorite places. And so photographing flowers and gardens in particular really is a form of therapy for me. And I discovered that it was therapeutic, not only there, but also in a field of wildflowers on the side of the road when I stomped into a field, kind of mad at myself. And the more I photographed the details of the flowers, the more I realized that my breathing had slowed, my shoulders had dropped, and everything that I walked into the field with in terms of being mad at myself completely disappeared. So photography, that's why I use this quote, because it really helped me to discover not only that photography in general is therapeutic for me, but also it gave me an outlet to express myself in ways that not always are easily expressible in words. And Lens Baby is one of the tools for me that allows me to do that very same thing. The difference is that with Lens Babies, if you don't know anything about them, the effect that each one gives you, you can see through the viewfinder. So you don't have to guess, well, I wonder what this would look like. Every time I pick up a Lens Baby, I know exactly what kind of effect it will give me and when it may or may not work with particular subjects. So starting with the basics, Lens Baby is a collection of creative effect lenses, optics, and accessories that allow you to see and photograph in new ways. And a quick history here, the company was launched by Craig Strong in 2004 at WPPI. They actually were assembling the first model of the Lens Baby, and you'll see what it looked like. I came into the Lens Baby world in 2005 with the Lens Baby 2.0. And just kind of moving through, from 2008 to 2015, more advances were in the works and came into play. And I think the thing that really solidified my connection with the Lens Baby as a creative tool was in 2015 when they came out with the Velvet 56. It is a solid lens, 56 millimeters, and it is really truly my all-time favorite. It is always in my bag, even with the normal lenses. So no matter what else I have in my bag, the Velvet 56 is in it. And so they've just come out with a lot of different things along the way, and I'm going to share those with you and give you an idea of what you can do with these tools. The slide you're looking at here is the Lens Baby 2.0, and you can I called it a squeeze box kind of lens because you would squeeze or push and pull on different sides to get a particular effect, and you'll see that. You also controlled the aperture with these rings, these discs that you see at the bottom, and you would get them out with that magnetic piece, and that was my first Lens Baby. And I thought, well, this is kind of fun and and interesting. So I've been using Lens Babies for over 20 years. And it's, for me, it's somewhat of an addiction, but it's very healthy. In terms of the broad scope of what Lens Babies are about, they are all manual focus. So you basically have to embrace manual focus, adjust your diopter to your eyesight. And if you're shooting mirrorless, I don't think any DSLR cameras have it, but if it does have focus peaking, that can be useful. quite often, not always, but quite often. And the other thing that you need to know is that there's no electronic connection to the camera. So your aperture is recorded in the metadata as F nothing. It also, because of that, when you download images and you've used a Lens Baby, if you only have one, it's easy to know what you've used. But if you have a collection like I do, I'll talk about this, but you need to have some kind of system of identifying what you used. And so I'll share something about that. It can get, sometimes it's very obvious and other times not so much. The good news is that your ISO and your shutter speed are recorded, so you have some sense of the rest of the story. Some cameras, such as Canon, not all of them, but some Canons and maybe other cameras too, need to be set in the menu as shoot or release without a lens, and then it will work. Like I said, focus peaking can help you. And each of these sets of Lens Babies have certain effects, and they basically go away at the smaller apertures. So from whatever the widest aperture is to, say, maybe 5.6, you'll see the effect. And then at f8, 11, 16, and 22, it's basically a straight lens on most of them. And then the other thing is, they're not necessarily intuitive. So it takes time and practice to get used to what you're trying to do, what the Lens Baby, each one will do for you in your images. So you have to just, kind of bear with not knowing whether you're doing it, quote, right or not, and just keep at it until you go, oh, okay, I get it. So these are two images from that squeeze box lens, the Lens Baby 2.0, and you can see, with the B-bomb, how I pushed that in one direction, and what it did, which was unexpected, but it's part of the nature of this particular second iteration of the Lens Baby, is it blurs the background and it pushes things in the frame. So it creates a unique look and effect. And with the B-bomb, it helped my background. I forget what aperture disc I might have had in it, but my habit typically is a wider aperture. So, that can give you an idea. When they came out with a soft focus optic, that's when I really started getting interested. The optics are seated in a composer, which is the holder. And I really loved this effect here of the soft focus. That's another, where you can have sharp and soft. And it just really got me interested. And for me, when I'm photographing, it's not just what I'm looking at, but how does it make me feel, and what feel is being put back into me through the viewfinder. So this is the soft focus optic with the composer, and I just started getting a little bit more and more interested. And they had a whole series of optics, and this was my favorite one from back then. And you definitely, you manually focused again, so you can see where I focused. The Indian blanket flower on the top left is as close as I could get with no macro filters. And then when I added filters, I could get the bottom image. My tendency is to keep going in for more and more detail. And it just creates a different look and feel. So when I talk about accessories, I talk about macro filters, and I use them a lot, very often, almost always. Let's put it that way. And I often stack them too. So this is a soft focus optic also, early stage. lens babies are not for the documentary photographer. So if you are photographing a stream in Townsend, in the area in the Smoky Mountains, they're bare in the woods and they come out to the streams. And I had the soft focus optic on my camera when this bear, which is the black blob, right over here. I'm assuming that you can see my mouse.
Yep.
Can you?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's that bear, and I had no time at all to switch to telephoto lens. So that was my bear shot in Tremont, in the Smokies. And you know, I'm not completely okay with it, but that was the situation. So you got to be aware of where and when you're using the lens baby. Photography in general is a balancing act. So we look for being technically correct. And sometimes if your focus is only on being technically correct, then your images can seem, I'm not going to say lifeless, but they seem to be correctly exposed, correctly focused, and not much feeling. And I think that we miss out if we are only looking at being technicians, and the creative part in us comes out, and that's a balancing act. You know, we want the things in focus that need to be in focus, but we also want to be able to make the choices, say, I don't want everything in focus. I just want this edge, and that's it. And it's okay. And I think we sometimes, not me, really, I've given up on caring or worrying about what people think of my images, because I've grown to embrace my way of seeing the world, and I'm just sharing it. So everything you see here is in that light. But for me, the lens babies, there are times when I am, like anybody, uninspired and unmotivated. And when I pick up a lens baby, something changes. And so the scale tips over to the inspired and motivated. And so when I'm really kind of like not seeing anything, or I haven't been out with my camera, and I'm kind of just in one of those dazes that we sometimes get in, the lens baby is my way of getting out of that funk. And one thing for sure is perfection is broken. This image was taken with the Lens Baby Velvet 56. I'm not going to keep saying Lens Baby because that's what this whole thing is about, but it was the Velvet 56, again, my favorite. And it was a organ that you pulled the keys out, pulled the pulls to and pump the air and everything. I'm getting it totally wrong, but it was okay. Anyway, there was a key on that, and its name was Perfection, and I thought, oh, how cool. Well, when the person who knew how to play this organ pulled the key, she said, well, perfection is broken. And I thought, how appropriate, you know, that striving for perfection is one of these tough battles that we sometimes have within ourselves, and perfection is, for the most part, not possible. So I like approaching my photography with that in mind, as a philosophy that I'm not going to get everything perfect, but I'm going to do the best I can. And someone years ago shared that, you know, perfection is impossible, but doing your best is the best, because your best is always subject to incremental improvement. So just a few peekaboos on imperfection here. This was done with the Velvet 28. I don't know what this was, but it was tucked in a Composer Pro, which is the holder, and it was broken glass, a mirror. And this is a lock on an old barn that is now way past even this prime, and done with the Velvet 28. You'll hear more about that. The cool thing here is that I didn't have any macro filters on. The Velvet 28 allows you to get to within 2 inches of your subject. So that's kind of a cool thing. As far as practical tips, I would say the first one is, well, gee whiz, let go of perfect. Go for, when you're photographing with them, go for the look and feel. And that, at least for me, always helps me find my flow. Like any lens that you put on your camera, there's a minimum focusing distance. You want to know that because the minimum focus distance on any lens, including Lens Babies, varies from each one. So some have a focusing distance of 15 inches, which for me a lot of times is not close enough, and then others 5 inches and 2 inches. And so by knowing that, that will help you remove some frustration about, well, I can't get close enough. If you can't get close enough for what you're wanting to do, macro filters or extension tubes. In terms of achieving focus, if you have Lens Babies and you're having trouble getting focus on an edge, start, instead of wide open apertures, start at say f4 or 5.6 and get your edge before, and take pictures and before you go wider, because the wider you get, particularly with the lenses and optics that have special effects, it's harder to see those edges. So you want to pay attention to where you want to focus and what edge you're going for. Tripod or hand holding? The answer there is it depends. Sometimes tripods are very helpful, particularly in low light or when you're able to, if you're not in a public garden and you have a specific target in mind in terms of what type of image you want to create. But other times you have an idea, but you can't get the tripod in the position to actually make it happen. So that's when the hand holding comes into play. And you basically use the same idea of, having a fast enough shutter speed. So if your shutter speed is not fast enough for the situation and the focal length, then increase your ISO, and that will give you faster shutter speeds. So just kind of keep those things in mind. So there's nothing like super foreign about those concepts. I love photographing fading, dying cut flowers because they're super interesting to me. And the background effects on a lot of the Lens Babies is what really makes it magical, because this is not a photograph with a texture applied. This is just out of the camera. I believe this was done with a suite, probably with macro filters. Oh, well, I didn't know this was going to happen. Anyway, here we go. So some more tips, general and specific. So a good composition is always going to give you the stronger image. So when you're looking for key elements, ask yourself why this particular subject, why this angle, why this lens baby or not. Because when you answer those questions, it makes it easier for you to track and create stronger compositions. Keeping things simple goes along with the idea of sweeping your edges and not having too much stuff in the frame that makes your image busy. And when I talk about the optics, some of the optics actually tilt so that you can move your center focus area. And so if you tilt too far one way or the other, you will actually see the other end of the optic. So it's like a vignette only on one side, and it's just part of the optic. If you can't focus, you may be too close. So move back, or if you want to get as close as you want when you look through the viewfinder and you can't do it, it's probably because you're just inside or way inside the minimum focusing distance. So you need some help with accessories. And then just as a general rule, the effect of each particular Lens Baby is greater at your wider apertures. So the smaller you stop down with your aperture, the less of the effect you will see. And even though I love flowers, and you'll see a lot of flowers in this program, it's not just for flowers. So this was taken at Old Car City in White, Georgia, a mecca for photographers who love old cars, trucks, buses, etc. And it was photographed with the Sweet 80, and this was as well. My favorite, Velvet 56, shot indoors in a small nautical museum with old fishing tools and whatnot. I live near the coast of North Carolina, and so there are a lot of areas that I can go to where there are fishermen and boats and nets and things like that. So, not just for flowers. This was actually photographed inside an antique store, and this is an aerial view of a vintage paper umbrella. So you can have a lot of fun, inside with all kinds of interesting things. You just have to look at them in a different way, with or without a Lens Baby. The look of Lens Baby is untraditional. So like I said, it's not for straight shooters. If you're looking to document, this is a blank. Lens Baby is probably gonna push your discomfort buttons if you try it. And I will say this, if you're not sure about whether Lens Baby is for you, you can always rent Lens Babies. It's available to do that. You just have to, if you're going to rent a Lens Baby, you need to work it while you have it. And anybody ever does that, you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Each lens or optic has a unique bokeh, a special effect that is unique to that particular group of lenses or optics. The soft focus gives you an ethereal look and feel. The sweet spots, when I talk about the sweet whatever, there are sweets and there are edges. Those, in most cases, the sweet spot is movable, and you have with the sweet spots, they're circular. With the edge optics, you're working with slices of focuses. Slices of focuses, yeah, there you go. And here's just sort of a rundown. I'm not going to read every one of them, but basically the effects are a sweet spot, the edge, a swirl effect in the background. And so some of these are still available and others are not. The Twist 28 under the swirl effect is actually new, and it won't be available until April. But you'll see some images from that. I'm still getting the hang of it as well, but it's an interesting optic. The velvets have an overall glow in them, and the soft focus optic is really very similar to what you've already seen, and you'll see a few more images relating to the soft focus optic. One thing to point out is that if you go on the Lens Baby website and you're looking and you see an option for a fixed body, it's really like a tube, and the optic goes inside, and you can't move your center spot. It's just straight ahead, so there's no tilting. So for me and the way I photograph, I prefer the Composer Pro 2 option because that allows me a bit more flexibility. This was done with the Double Glass 2 and a macro filter and also ICM. So I'm combining not only the Lens Baby effect, but adding a macro filter or 2 or 3 and a unique shooting technique, which ICM is just, for me, just another way to go into another zone. Oh boy, I need to get rid of these thingies. I bet, oops, yeah, okay. Note to self. Um,
Yeah.
these things happen. Anyway, Lens Baby gives you a shift in perspective. So if you are an engineer and are like looking for order, you have to shift gears, and the images that will come out of your camera are more artistic in nature. And if you'll notice, I said in camera. What I mean by that is that you don't have to go on your computer and go, oh, let me create this effect. You're looking through your viewfinder and you're seeing exactly what that lens is going to give you, or that optic. And so the other part of it is that by stepping back into manual focus, it slows you down, because I don't know about you, but my eyes, I've got readers that I have to have around my neck all the time, because my eyes are not what they were when I was much younger. So the manual focus makes me slow down and think through a little bit more. The sweet spots, there's an area of focus, and then the sweet spots are surrounded by soft blur. How much depends on the aperture that you choose. The edges, like I said, are slices of focus, but they're also surrounded by a soft blur. Um, sort of tempered by whatever aperture you choose. So the newer optics have the ability for you to choose f2.5 or f11, and you can decide where you want to go within those ranges. But you're really shifting from literal documentation to interpretive style. If you want more traditional, I should say more traditional, set the aperture at f8 or higher, because but then it's like, okay, what's the point of that? The point of that is maybe you don't want the effect for every single image that you're shooting, or maybe you're trying to figure out, well, what happens at f2.5 versus f8, and you're experimenting. So at least you get an idea of where things go and what they look like, and what aperture might be your go-to, for starters. Beyond the gear, like I said, it's creative effects in camera, minimal post-processing other than your normal stuff. I shoot RAW. I'm a Nikon shooter. I shoot RAW, and I use Photoshop primarily with additions with Nik collection, and also some Topaz. But really, for me, Lens Baby gives me freedom to interpret, keeps me sort of simplifying my shooting process, allows me to get into my own little creative zone, and discover things that maybe I would not have discovered otherwise. So when I say no edits, here's an example. I'm just photographing these little, they may be fleabane daisy, I'm not exactly sure. But I'm using the Sweet 35 optic, and I added macro filters because that's my pattern. Nothing is ever close enough for me, or not a lot, so I'm typically always adding macro filters, but I have not edited this. The only thing I did really is take it in to Photoshop to convert it to a JPEG, so that I could put it in this program. So that's what I'm seeing through the camera. Nothing changing in the background or foreground. Nothing has been sharpened anywhere. I haven't done any fancy footwork there. I've kind of mentioned this already, but in terms of camera settings, my recommendation is I shoot mostly in aperture priority. I find that is an easy starting point for me with all of my photography. But if you are, I'm not going to say this right, but if you are stuck on manual, you will have a harder time, I think. Maybe it's just me, but starting with Lens Baby and manual. we're doing the same thing. We're just letting the camera give us a good starting point. And with most of the lens babies, if you begin with aperture f4 for focusing, you can see an edge and you can begin to work from there. With the Composer, the Soul, the Sweet 22, they tilt. And so you can move your sharp area, your sweet spot in a lot of different directions. But I would recommend that you start with the optic straight ahead, because if you get started and you just start tilting away, you're not getting the feel for that particular tool. And so start with it straight ahead and then play around. And then just, again, have patience with yourself and with whatever lens baby you start with. The big thing, as I said, I have 21 years of accumulation for lens baby, so I've got a lot. I don't carry them all around. They fill a suitcase and beyond, and I pick and choose what I want to use. And so how do I know what I've used? Well, I've developed a system, and if I use it consistently, then I will know that, well, gee, I was using the Sweet 50, and below here, there's macro filters. And, I can kind of combine these, and I photograph the sticks with that information so that if I do it consistently, and I will just say that I don't, I will know what I used. One person, another friend of mine, she would write the name of the optic on the holder and take a picture of it before she started. A lot of times what I will do is I will maybe have 2 lens babies with me. And so I know that I started the day with one, and then the other half of the day I used another. So I'm typically not walking around going, okay, I'm going to use this and this and this. So I'm relatively consistent, and but I try to use this system because it does help. And like I said, this is what it would look like if I was shooting with the Velvet 85, which I'm sure that I was for this. And my goal is just to say, hey, this is everything that follows this. This frame was done with the Velvet 85, with or without macro filters. That part doesn't matter to me because I can tell when I added them. So if you develop a habit and you use the system, you will be happier. Because you'll know what you've been using. The accessories I talk about that Lens Baby offers are the macro filters, which you see on the right. And then they also have macro converters, which are basically like teleconverters, no extension tube, sorry, for your regular camera, but they're made for Lens Baby. I have those, but I prefer to use the macro filters because I don't have to open my camera up, take the, expose the sensor to dust and elements, and I can just kind of take the filters off or put them back on or stack them in any order, and it doesn't matter. The other thing I will say is that if you're shooting with a full frame camera, and you've added macro filters or you haven't, and you still want to get closer, I change my aspect ratio from FX to DX. And I just simply don't care that I'm losing megapixels in my frame, because what I want, and this is my way of doing it, what I want is to see in the viewfinder and on the back of the LCD screen that image as I want it. Do I crop? Yes, I do. Am I opposed to cropping? No, but I really just have this habit of wanting to see it. And because if I'm going to crop it anyway, I'm losing megapixels outside of the shooting process anyway. So it just doesn't matter to me. I don't get hung up on megapixels at all. These are some of the other accessories that I use. So Canon makes a 500D close-up lens. They call it a lens. It screws onto the front. It's a filter. But both of these, the Nikon 6T, which that's actually a 5T, they're called diopters, 2 pieces of glass corrected for distortion to magnify the image. The Raynox 150 and 250 are similar, right? It's a clip-on, so it snaps inside, or you can hold it against an optic. I've done that before, but it's not as user-friendly in that way. That allows you to get even closer. I use the circular polarizer for my velvets, especially. And I actually have 46mm circular polarizer filter that I could use for my optics. Most of the time I'm not using it because I'm close to my subjects, flowers in particular. And I don't need to polarize, glare or anything or reflections, but there are times when I may. I use diffusers and reflectors and small flashlights. I do use my tripod, and sometimes, not always, I will use a shutter release cable or self-timer. Just depends on what I'm photographing and what the situation is. So that's kind of an overall of Lens Baby in general. I'm going to talk a little bit about the optic swap system. And so what you see in the middle here is the composer. Basically, it's the holder. So each one of these are the optics. Suite 50, Suite 35. There's, oh gosh. Just there's a lot of different optics. So the edges, Suite 80, I knew there was another suite. So center circle or edges, slices of focus. So you change your optics and you change the effect. You change the focal length. So 35, Suite 35 is 35mm, Suite 50 is 50, and so on. If you decide that you want some flexibility and don't want to spend like a ton of money, then my possible recommendation for you would be to get a Composer Pro 2 and an optic that's included with it. And how you decide is what effect do you like? Where do you want to start? What focal length? Do you see yourself using more? And I would recommend adding macro filters if what you see in your shooting behaviors that you want to get closer. Because for me, 15 inches from a flower is just too far away. Okay. These are the early optics, and I'm not going to go into them, but they are called vintage optics, and they will fit in a composer. So if you happen to get your hands on one for fun, that's something that is possible. This slide shows you the list of optics that will fit in the composer, and some of them are available still, like most of the suites, some of the edges. The Twist 60 is still available. The Spark 2 I haven't seen in a while, and the Creative Bokeh I haven't seen in a while also. But the soft focus, double glass, twist, etc., they are available. And just me personally, they're just a lot of fun in a lot of different ways. So if you notice here, this is the soft focus 2. I still have an area of either sharp or, let's say, sharp enough, right? We have to decide. I am not a tack sharp kind of girl. It's sharp enough because this is a Lens Baby, and I'm looking for a softer effect, and I'm using the soft focus 2 tool. As I've mentioned already, if you're starting with a Composer Pro and an optic, start with it straight ahead before you go tilting and bending. Make sure that you're at the proper distance for that particular optic and the subject in the center. You can recompose by loosening the composer and then moving left or right or up or down. And so what you're doing is basically moving your center focus area from one place to another. And then I would recommend locking that tilt feature in place and then fine tuning your focus. And so if you're moving your focus area around, you're going to focus, recompose, you're going to tilt, you're going to refocus. And so it's just a process that, you just go through. Edward Weston said, when subject matter is forced to fit into preconceived patterns, there can be no freshness of vision. Well, if you're using lens babies, there's a lot of freshness of vision because you're really forced to get out of your comfort zone and out of the box. The suites, probably, the Velvet 56 is my all-time favorite. I think I like the suites and the soft focus probably the best, all of which I would use macro filters with. So as I mentioned, you're dealing with 35, 50, and 80 millimeters. And there is a Suite 22 notation here. It is not an optic that fits in the composer. It's actually a standalone lens, very small and flat, and you'll see what it does. But it also, all of these give you a sweet spot surrounded by blur. So here's some images that I made with the Suite 22. So that blur around the edge is just natural with the Suite 22. I walked around in an antique store and made images all over the store with the Suite 22. This was done in my office. I don't know, the nest is probably and I did add macro filters. It's probably maybe 4 inches in diameter. And the eggs are very tiny. And this is a milkweed fluff. All of these with the Suite 22. A little bit wider angle. The Suite 35 allows you to include more in the frame. And this is an example of, instead of that area of focus, the center of this peony being right in the center, I've tilted in order to have the center focus area off to one side. Everything that's happening in the background is just what the Suite blur does. So I find it to be very pleasing. This is ranunculus inside with the macro filters. I can't grow these, so I order them or buy them at stores and then play around with different backgrounds. I collect old bottles, and anytime I can photograph a flower, I'm all in. So these are Suite 35. Here's an example of focusing in the center, and you see what happens around the center area. And then just deciding, well, I want the center of the flower in focus on the right-hand side. And this, once you practice, it becomes much easier. But what you can also do with any of these lenses is defocus and create backgrounds that you can print and use inside for still lifes and anything else that you might want to do. So you can even print these on smaller papers. Matte paper is what I would recommend. And you can pack them if you feel like you want to carry them around outdoors in gardens and things. And there's 8x10, maybe, if you're going to, unless you have a schlepper who's going to carry all these various things with you. But it can help you with bad, busy backgrounds too. So just a thought. Mike Motes does this a lot. I don't carry around backgrounds in the field. Here's the Suite 50. So just some examples of that. In every case, you're seeing a focus in the center or moved off to left, right, or lower, and that blur in the background. I love the Sweet 50. I think that's probably would be my choice if I said, okay, I'm gonna use, bring one of the sweets. The Sweet 50 is that mid-range, similar to my 56. And I like the blur effect in the background. And this is just shooting weeds and backlit clump of weeds. So adding macro filters in my back patio, and the backgrounds that you see, I'm not holding anything. This is just whatever is behind. And, a small edge, and the rest is going soft, and the color is just what I'm actually seeing that color and going, wow, I wouldn't have thought that would happen. But this is all with the Sweet 50 and macro filters. So that would be probably, if you liked the sweet effect, that would be where I might recommend starting. The Sweet 80 is a longer focal length, and it also has a little sort of like a clutch kind of thing that you can pull and get a little bit closer, not super close. Here's an example of, of I think it was f16 on the left, and much wider aperture on the right. So some of these are not going to give you tack sharp anywhere, but I was on a tripod because I wanted to try to be consistent in the before and after shot. These made with the Sweet 80, adding a texture. And here is a different aperture, so a wider mid-range aperture and then wide. And you decide what you like best. That is where we make those decisions and choices, and then adding some macro filters. The edges are about a slice or edge of focus surrounded by that same or similar blur. And so you've got a sharp slice of focus that's running through your frame, either up and down or left, right. So any direction, and it's bordered by the blur and the bokeh. So I'm not the biggest fan. We all have our favorites. And so my favorite is not the Edge series, but it works really well for people who do portraits to get a special effect. And so these were early images, and I wasn't like super satisfied with them. And I put the edge down. And then I thought, oh, I could do better than that. So I'm going to take it out. I'm not really comfortable with it, right? So I got to push myself out of my comfort zone too. And so I walked around nearby town, and I started playing with it and moving the edge of focus. So the slice is more right here. And then now I've just tilted it so that the edge is more on this edge of the paint. If you notice where the shift is, so we're on the left here and on the right. And so you can kind of gauge whether this would be an optic that you would be drawn to based on the type of subjects that you photograph. And I have a friend who's super well versed with the Edge, and she's allowed me always to include this. Now here's a really ripe subject for the Edge 80, and I just think it's beautiful, and I just can right here just say I've never gotten anything with the Edge like this. So want to give you some idea of where the potential is. The Twist, remember I said that the Twist 28 is new, not available yet, but will be in April. So this is what I was talking about, I think, earlier when I said the fixed body. That does not tilt or twist. That just goes straight. I do not want it just straight. I want all the flexibility. So if you like the flexibility, then I would recommend the Optic, which fits in the Composer. This Twist 28 is a very small flat lens, 28 millimeters, fixed aperture of f3.5. And so it gives you a unique twisty kind of blur. And so here's an example of the 60. So you focus on something in the front, and then if you've got sort of a busy background, it gets swirly with more effect. And so those are some of my early examples. And I thought, I put this twist 60 down too. We have a tendency to do that. If we're not, real super happy with anything that we try, it's really easy to put it down and not use it, drive around with it in your bag. And I thought, well, this is silly. So I came at it again, actually last year in the gardens. And here's our better examples of why I now like the Twist 60 more. Because look what happens. There are a lot of tiny flowers in the background and a lot of grassy foliage on the front. These are bluebell. And you can't get that with a macro lens. On the right hand side, I'm left right challenged, so excuse me if I err. The columbine, because it had different structure and the columbines weren't like all tiny, they were all similar in size to this and much closer. You don't see a whole lot of twist, but I like the effect. And so with anything, it's background dependent. Same here, because I'm really close, and I've also added a texture here, but you don't always see the twist effect. And you just have to say, it's okay, I'm not always going to see it. This here, because the background was farther away and nothing really busy, no twisty effect, but I like it. And the same here. So here you can see that I didn't put the center of the flower in the center of the frame. I tilted. And then here's some examples of the Twist 28. Now I got it in the fall, and I had some life things happen that that sort of took me away from photography for a while. So I still need to be working on this, but this is 28 millimeters. And you can add macro filters, which is my habit, but you've got 28 millimeters and you've got that twisty background, so wider. If you go on their website, you'll see a lot of different examples of people who shoot things very different from me, dogs and people and whatnot. And so you'll see a wide variation of what can be done with this particular lens. And it's a standalone lens, not an optic. There are a couple others that I have and I like, so I wanted to share them. And they're a little bit different. So the Double Glass 2 is an optic. It's fairly standard in terms of its background effect. And the soft focus, you've seen at least one image of there, but one of the unique things about these two optics in particular is that these creative aperture discs drop in to the center, magnetically held in, and they create different effects on your background. For both of these, you have an aperture range of f2.5 to f22 and minimum focusing distance of 15 inches. So you know what I do based on everything that I've told you. Double Glass 2, no aperture disc in here. But in here, I put the Whirlpool disc. And this is outside in a public garden, just a small piece of part of the tree. And so on the right, you see that kind of like S and swirly curly. That's because of the aperture disc. If I didn't have that in, it would be a smooth, not really textured background. Same thing on the right with the quince. The soft focus 2. Typically, I'm not adding the aperture discs, but here are just some examples of what you can do with the soft focus. I did add macro filters because you know how small the dandelions are. And I was hand holding it and I was laying on the ground in front of a church. So I have no shame. I just try to keep in mind what direction I'm facing. But that's where the dandelions were, so that's where I was. And again, defocusing and creating backgrounds for you to use for other purposes. Terms of the lenses, the standalone lenses, you've got a whole series here. So the velvets, highlighting the Velvet 56, the Soul 22 and 45, the Sweet 22, I already showed you and talked about. The Twist you've seen, that's new. You've seen the Twist 60. So when I say also available as an optic, that Twist 60 with the straight fixed body, that's what I'm referring to there. And they make something called the Trio that includes 3 different optics. It's also small and flat and flexible, but it doesn't trip my trigger in the way that the others do. So I don't have it. I do have the Obscura, which I don't even think they're making anymore. And you can see by the apertures, 22, 45, and 90, you need to be photographing with a lot of light. And for anyone who's into pinhole and zone plate photography, that might be something that, would be interesting to try. I have to say I haven't had any experience with the Obscura, but I wanted to share that it's something you might be able to find somebody looking to, part with it. The velvets are probably my favorites, but my all-time favorite is the Velvet 56. And you can see the wide aperture, f1.6 for the 56, 1.8 for the 85, and f2.5 for the Velvet 28. They all go up to f16. So once you get past f8, 5.6 into f8, they actually act like prime lenses, and you're not going to see the glow that is created from 5.6 and wider. I really didn't think I needed the Velvet 28. I was really not interested in it because I like, particularly with the lens babies, I like to shoot closer. But when I heard that I could get 2 inches from my subject, this is a straight, my first shot with a friend's, shame on her for putting it in my hands because then I bought it. But, I went out to her front yard, photographed a zinnia, filled the frame with it like this. And I thought, yeah, okay. But you can shoot landscapes and mid-range subjects. And because of that overall glow, you can create creepy images like this, or not so creepy, depending. This is walking on a trail and getting 2 inches from dead fern that everybody else walked past. And I thought, well, there's something interesting here. The image on the left is a purple gentian flower, probably no bigger than maybe 4 or 5 inches tall. And what it allowed with that getting close to the subject is an artistic environmental interpretation. And then, making dying dead grasses more interesting. The Velvet 56, again, you'll see more. But these, a lot of times they're handheld because it's a hand-holdable lens, and I am typically shooting at wider apertures. So this is the overall effect that you might see with busier backgrounds. And it just softens the background. It allows you to get a lot of things sharp, depending on your aperture. And I just like the look and feel and glow that it gives, particularly with flowers. Adding a macro filter here. Does not stop me, just like anything else doesn't stop me from doing in-camera motion. In-camera multiple exposures work the same way for me. It's just another way to interpret. This is a hydrangea with a rotating around one petal, handheld. The Velvet 85 is a longer focal length. So what that does is it's a narrower angle of view. It also gives you a little bit more working room. So when you're in a garden, and it's a public garden and you can't jump in the beds, that gives you a little bit more wiggle room in terms of photographing something that's not right in front of you. And so these are just some examples of images made with the Velvet 85. The one on the fern on the right, I added the Canon 500D to that shot. I remember actually doing that. Sometimes I can remember, other times not. Here's an example of the Velvet 85, and it's an example of when I should have had my circular polarizer on, because those leaves would not have that same glare and sheen. It's not terrible, but I typically will use the polarizer, and for whatever reason, I didn't have it on. But these are Velvet 85 shots. So lots of variations, and you can use different subjects, different apertures, glow, no glow, a lot of flexibility in my view. Your Sol 22 and the Sol 45. The Sol 22 is for your not necessarily the crop sensor, but the like the Olympus, for example. The Sol 45 is for full frame. And again, this is a standalone lens. It's tiltable. You can see from the image here. But what it has that's different are these texture blades that you can either use them the way you see them there. You can use one blade, or you can use no blades. And so depending on how you decide to use it, you get different effects. So this is Magnolia without the blades. So that's that soft kind of buttery feel in the background, and then with the blade. Here I may have had one blade versus both of them. It's sort of hard to tell, but usually the effect is primarily on the background. No blades. And then with the blades, so the top image is with both blades, and then the bottom image is with one blade in use, and the other not. So here is with the dahlia in the center, and all of that variation that you see in the background, that's caused by or created by the texture blades. Sometimes it's not as obvious, so you get to decide. And this no blades, just again, another example of shooting handheld with a lens baby and doing a multiple exposure. And I am just shooting straight down and rotating around the center. So for anyone who does this, you understand what I say when I put my autofocus point, even though this is not an autofocus lens, I put the autofocus box in the center of my frame, my viewfinder, and I pick the center here, and I rotate around that. The reason I put the autofocus point there in the center is so that I have a point of reference. So it just helps me visually. Another part of the Lens Baby system is their Omni Creative Filter System. Now, this is something that I use periodically. For a long time, I just drove around with it in my car. Because again, why? Because I wasn't understanding what I could do. And I really just sort of put it down every time it got, it wasn't doing what I thought it could do. So again, I forced myself to make use of it and really just focus on experimenting with the Omni system. So you can use this here. So these are magnetic. This ring is magnetic. And so these are the Omni filters. You can attach them to, you can attach the round magnetic piece to your lens, and then you can attach the various pieces to that round magnetic. and allows you to not have to have like 5 hands when you're trying to do something. I don't want to make things easy for myself, so I started with one and just held it in front of the lens. The cool thing about this is that you can use it with any lens, so it doesn't have to be a lens baby. It can just be a straight up lens and allow you to sort of experiment in different ways. And these are just some of the options that are available on the screen there. This is the Omni Neon. So the neon, let me see, is similar to these pieces here with little holes and openings, only they weren't clear and blue and red. They were neon, which I was like, oh my gosh, you know, a bit over the top. But I chose this reddish, pinkish neon, and I photographed this. This is henbit, and I shot through an opening so that the henbit was mostly / mildly in focus. Henbits are very tiny, so I used the Velvet 56. I added a macro filter and put the neon in front and just looked for an opening to shoot through. Here's the other color neon, which was more in the yellow-green family, and again, shot through an opening. A different approach for the Omni. This was more of a color film instead of you know, the holes. And so you can hold them to the left or the right, and you get different effects depending on how you hold them in front. What really intrigued me while I was experimenting with this is the mirror paddle. So it looks like a mirror, and on one side it's silver, one side it's gold, and these were dead leaves hanging on trees and in my front yard. And so what you see here, this is the actual dead stuff, and then this is a mirror reflection of this, the leaf hanging on the tree and a reflection. So it takes a little manipulating, but I found that to be more interesting for me in terms of the Omni system. I liked the mirror paddle, and particularly the gold. I also went to a park and I just used the colored film. And so I was shooting in a square format and I had it all worked out. And then this little kid comes with a bicycle. Well, the film that I used really kind of created this vintage look and effect. So I was like, at first I was, you know, like kind of annoyed that this little kid was coming into my shot. You know how that works. And then it actually worked, because I think without this little boy on his bicycle, it wouldn't be the same, and I wouldn't like it as much. But so you never know when you're photographing. So why lens baby for me? I think I've kind of made it relatively clear, but the biggest thing is because I see the effect through the lens. So I'm able to visualize and see what's happening and know where what I'm going to get when I come home. So I'm not questioning whether I got something or I didn't get it. You know, I'm really just sort of playing around. I know that I don't have to process a whole lot because what I'm seeing is what I'm going to get. The ordinary things become unique and different. I like the versatility of the optic swap system. I have, you know, a few favorites that I like. So I like that I can swap them out and not have to carry around, you know, 3 lenses if I want the optics. It also helps me break out of the ruts and stuckness that we all are subject to. It forces me, not that I'm a documenter, but it forces me out of documenting, and it also fits my style of photographing, which is creative, interpretive. And because it is in that flowy, creative vein, when I look through the camera, I'm able to get into the flow and into the zone much more quickly. And I've mentioned this a few times, you know, my favorite lens baby, just to give you a little bit more information, It's all about the effect. So the Velvet 56 gives you a glow. The aperture range is from f1.6 to f16. I'm rarely shooting at f16. I'm rarely even shooting at f8 or 5.6, to be honest. I go between f1.6 and 2.8 and 4. That's sort of my window. Minimum focusing distance is 5 inches. I love that, especially because I shoot a lot of flowers. And the filter size is 62 millimeters. So those Nikon 6T macro filters that I showed you in the very beginning, they're 62 millimeters. Every time I see one available, I pick it up because I don't ever want to be without one. And usually instead of $50, $60, I'm spending 20 or 25. So, and if somebody wants to give me them, then, you know, I'll be just say thank you with anything. The Velvet 56 is always in my bag. There is no sometimes, most of the time. There's always, it's always my, if I'm only carrying 2 lenses, it's a normal lens, usually Nikon 28 to 300, and the Velvet 56. It's versatile, so I can use it on any subjects. I can shoot landscapes and other things, old cars and knickknacks and whatever. I'm often using the macro filters in addition to the lens itself. It's very easily hand holdable. It is a solid lens. I mean, it's not a lightweight, but it's easy to hand hold, much easier in my mind than the 28 or the 85. And I just love the look and feel that it gives at the wide apertures. And it's a real lens. So if I did have a scene that I wanted at f11 or f16, I don't have to go, oh, well, the effect is going to be there, so I can't use this. If that's all I'm walking around with, then I can do just about anything. And so the flexibility and just the look and feel. And these are just some examples. So I'm just looking, I'm probably shooting at f1.6 here, very, very small, tiny sliver on the bottom left of this tulip. Just a little bit of focus and a lot of softness in this. I think it's a cherry tree. But you know, these are just, when you see these, this is what I saw looking through the viewfinder. So it just makes me go, oh man, and make all kinds of noises and makes me very happy. I do occasionally add, well, okay, not occasionally. Often I will add textures to images when I feel that it can be adding a little bit more juice to the frame. You know, I just sit down in front of stuff and I go, wow, you know, and I just, again, I make lots of noises because it just makes me happy. And, you know, if you look at this image here, this is not the, I probably shot this at f1.6 and my edge is right in this little area. But you know what? If I mean, I can see it even with my bad eyes. But if I didn't have that edge, this is an abstract, very soft image that is really just about floral abstract and the color and the softness and how it makes me and probably other people feel when they look at it. So, you know, we want calm, we want gentle, and I don't know who doesn't love purple. But here's a hellebore, which they're blooming in my neck of the woods now. And it was a new flower to me, and I photographed it with the Velvet 56. And, you know, so it just, macro lens just wouldn't do this for me. I have 3 macro lenses, so it's not that I'm opposed to macro lenses, but this just sort of gives me extra juice. Shooting through a crab pod on a dock, you know, focusing on the barnacles and just the little wires. Mushrooms. So this is without any filters. And I thought, well, how cool is this mushroom? And I'm hand holding, believe it or not, but I really work hard to get these areas of focus. So I've got an area in the center and sort of up in that focal plane. And then I add the close-up filter, the Nikon 6T, and I'm hand holding. So what really intrigues me, but I didn't carry my tripod for a variety of reasons. But what if I did have my tripod? I don't know if I could have gotten in the position to photograph these little folds, which are really fascinating. But I knew if I was this close, I had to get the edge in focus. It's just in this particular image that was important for me. And so whatever lens baby you choose, if you choose any, or if you have any, if you have more than one, when you go out, if you saying, well, I don't really, I'm not getting this, go out with only the lens baby. It's the only way that you won't fall back into your comfort zone. So start with one, take it out, get to know how close you can get. If you need macro filters, be willing to be uncomfortable. Stick with it long enough to say, like I had to do with the twist, with the Omni, with several. I had to be uncomfortable, but stick with it long enough to say, I kind of like this. You have to spend time with each one in order to understand how it works and if it works for you. If you're looking for flexibility, the optic swap system is a good way to go. Macro filters and the extension tubes. And then, like I mentioned in the very beginning, you can rent lens babies. I know that different people have, and usually if they rent the Velvet 56, they end up buying it, especially when I show them what they can do with it. So, that's sort of my take on lens babies. I don't know what the time is, so I hope I haven't gone too far over. But I love this quote, and I think it's fitting, by Erin Hansen. There's freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky, and you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? What if I don't like the lens baby? What if I can't get it right away? What if it's just not working for me? What if, right? But you may end up trying it and going, hey, wow, so you don't know unless you try. So I love this quote for that reason. So I just want to say thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Down at the bottom, if you want to take a screenshot. By the way, the velvets are on sale. So if they are intriguing to you, I think they were 25% off. You can save 10% more with my code W Davidson, even if you don't use this link that is at the bottom. If you're going independent to my website, that's the link that would tell Lens Baby that I was the source of the sale. Otherwise, if you just go there, click on their sale link or whatever, W Davidson in a promo code will get you 10% more off. And I'm going to stop my share and see if there are any questions.
Yeah, we did have one. How important is the diopter if you have focus peaking? Sort of in the beginning, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, that's okay. So focus peaking helps us no matter what lens we're using, right? If you're shooting macro or you're shooting manual focus, your diopter is adjusting the viewfinder for your eyesight, right? So just use an example. Somebody says, oh, could you take my camera and take a picture of us? And you look through the viewfinder and it's blurry. Well, they've adjusted their diopter on the viewfinder of the camera to their eyesight. And that's important because if you're trying to manually focus, you want to make sure that your eyesight and what you're seeing match what the camera is giving you through the viewfinder. So
yeah, I never remember to change it as my problem. I'm the one who asked that because sometimes I have my contacts in, sometimes I glass, sometimes neither.
Right.
And I never remember to set it for whatever I'm using. And I
Right.
just count on my focus peaking at that point to get me what I want in focus and see what I get when I get home.
Yeah, and the focus peaking will work um, on most of the optics to a certain extent. But if you think about it, think about like putting a veil across a lens, it's looking through something. So with the effects that are given at your wider apertures, the effect can be stronger than the peaking. And so it won't peak in the places that you think it should. And I've had that happen where it's like, well, I'm focusing on this area and it's not peaking. You just have to ignore the peaking, kind of like, a lot of things. When you know that an area is sharp, it focus peaking, and just like everything else has its limitations. But at wide apertures, that's why I say if you're using focus peaking and you're using a lens baby, start at f4, so you kind of get a good starting point with your focus before you start changing apertures to wider.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else have questions? It's been a quiet chat, so.
You should have given me a signal that I needed to speed it up.
I have a question.
We're doing fine.
Okay.
How does the mirror paddles work?
So I don't have any in front of me, but let's just say, oh gosh, and I don't even know. I can't even see myself. Where am I? I can't see myself.
Here, I can probably.
Oh yes, I can. Duh, I'm looking at myself. All right, so pretend this is a mirror paddle and you've got the camera. So I'm holding, there's something that I'm photographing in front, and I'm holding it and I'm looking through the viewfinder and it's reflecting. So you're not going to put it in front of your lens necessarily. It's going to be to the side.
So you just hand hold it.
Yeah, I mean, I could have used that adapter ring and magnetically stuck it on there, but I found, particularly with that one, that I really just needed to kind of wiggle and jiggle and, kind of do it handheld, freehand. Mm-hmm.
Well, you must have answered all their questions.
I know. Is there anybody who has a lens baby?
I just went to 2 orchid shows, took my lens baby for the first time, and I don't have one picture I like.
Which lens baby do you have?
I took the 56.
Okay. So if that was your first time using it,
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes practice. I mean, even that, it's basically a straight lens. Just depending on your aperture, again, where you chose to put your focus.
Yep.
And with flowers, depth of field is something that matters. So where your focus is and what's sharp and what's not, all of those things kind of play a part.
Yeah, and I think I had, because I'm not a flower photographer, and I think a lot more than maybe the lens was composition struggles for me.
Okay. Yeah. So you can just practice around the house. Just take anything that is something that you like, that's personal, that maybe you have a connection to, and do some inside work practicing. Start at say f4 or 5-6,
Yep.
go up, right? Go up to f16. So maybe start on a tripod, and run the range of the apertures.
Yep.
so you can see what is going to be a good place for you to start or land.
Yeah, I will maybe this weekend.
I have the lens 85. I forgot what the
Uh-huh.
beginning is, but boy, I have the same problem. It's very difficult to get a good photo the first time I used it as well. Any
Mhm.
suggestions for that particular lens?
Um, well, again, figuring out the minimum focusing distance, and I don't have all of those distances in my head. I know 5 inches for the velvet, but if you notice on the lens, there's a macro range, right? And so remember, I don't know, when we used to use the the rocking method for getting something in focus. A lot of times, especially if you're hand holding, you get kind of in the ballpark and then rock back and forth. And you can shoot in continuous mode if that helps you. But I think, yeah, if you're looking for the macro mode, then kind of turn it into that zone and rock. And actually play around with, well, how close can I get? How big do I want whatever it is in the frame? Do I want a more portrait, kind of like these zoom windows? Or do I want to get, into its eyeball, so to speak?
Is that one that people generally shoot around the 2.8, that 2.8 to 4 zone, kind of like you were talking about? Is that typical for that kind of lens?
It is. And it's subject driven, right? I mean, if I'm shooting, I mean, I'm going for the effect, right? But if I were just let's take the effect out of the equation. If I'm shooting a flower and it has lots of depth and I'm wanting to capture all of that, then I'm going to shoot at a f8, f11, even f16. But when I'm going into the abstract, more interpretive style, I'm going to start maybe at 5.6 and figure out how many layers do I want in focus. How many layers are important. So that's when I talk about subject driven. And if I just want like an edge, you've seen very small areas of focus and a lot of color and blur, then I think the 85 goes to f2.5, no, 1.8. So 1.8, right? Your nifty 50 1.8 will never ever look the same as 1.8 on a Velvet 85.
Okay.
Because of the wider your aperture, the more glow. And it's actually harder to find an edge at your widest aperture, which is why I say start at f4, find your edge, and then because and I'm doing this like you can see everything, because when you're hand holding, you've got the front of the lens is here. In the back, it's got that aperture ring, and the aperture ring moves very smoothly. So if you're in a stuck position and you kind of have your eye fixed on a focus point, you can get it at f4 and then just use your thumb to change your aperture to wider.
Okay. Do
Kind
you
of
often
stay
use
myself.
any kind of background kind of textures in your photos? I didn't see a lot, so I
No,
presume you do that often.
yeah, I do. There was one image in particular. It was a dahlia with lots of petals, purple, and I added a texture. So I can tell when I add a texture, but for this program, I really wanted you to see what you could get without fancy footwork.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I don't do well with all that other stuff. So I see pictures I love, and I'm like, I'm gonna get that picture, and then I find out all this editing they do, which I don't
Yeah.
do, and so I
Yeah.
still
I
like,
mean,
yeah.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons why I love the Lens Baby is because I do see in camera what I will expect to see when I get home.
Yeah, I'll have to play with that this weekend.
Mhm.
That'll be better than cleaning the house.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and if any of you have any questions or you want to say, well, I tried using this lens or that lens, and this is kind of my best shot. What can I do? I'm happy to respond, and give you some suggestions, or feedback.
Yeah, the thing is practice, practice, practice.
It is. And, I wish that I were more inclined to do videos that demonstrate, but I'm not, you know. So you got my empty hands and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to do those videos. I tried some of that too, and it's not an easy thing to do.
No, and you really have to just like, I don't know, be okay with mucking up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, great. Well, Jamie, thank you. It's always very interesting and gets me to want to run out and buy one. Maybe I'll do it this time.
Well, if you do, you do. If you
Yeah.
don't, you don't,
I
right?
keep talking about it. I keep talking about it.
Do it while it's on sale.
Yeah,
Join
yeah,
the 56 club.
Yeah.
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 That's probably what I'll end up doing. So,
Okay. Well, thank you again for the invitation. And yeah, you can find me. I'm sure that you put out my website and email, and so I'm available. When you email me, just remind me that you're from this club, so I will connect some dots. It doesn't mean I'll answer you any better, but I will answer you honestly always.
yeah. No, no problem. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
and,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. Have a good evening and a good week.
Okay, you
You
too.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Elizabeth, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So that was fun. So, but kind of depressing because, like I said, 2 shows, not 1 picture. It was pretty bad. Not spending money to go somewhere else again until I can nail this down. But anyway, just a couple things from Ellen. Thank you for filling in for me while I was sick. With the newsletter, that was very much appreciated. Yeah. I don't ever get sick, but I ended up with this really bad cold, which lasted a week. It was horrible. All right. So, next month we have Lisa Langell. Do we know what she's talking about yet? Or no?
No, I've got to get back to her on it. I hopefully she still has it on. I did all this on her website. And it's probably going to be the artistry one that she normally does.
Okay.
Because that's what she seems to be into the most right now.
Okay.
So, but I do have to get a hold of her because
All right.
this was just done by the website and she never did get back to me on it. Other than to say
All
it's
right.
down on her calendar.
Any wacko news?
Well, the only wacko news is, and we got quite a few people have signed up, but Mike Moats is this weekend, Saturday from 9 o'clock till noon. Tickets are still on sale till Wednesday at midnight for $15. It's a great deal. I mean, it's less than what you pay for a fast food meal. So, come. Mike is always very interesting, does stuff that anybody can do. And he'll be talking about nature photography in the first session. And the second session is non-nature photography close-up. I'm not sure what exactly that's going to be. I'm guessing it might be Old Car City, stuff like that, because there's a lot of that. A lot of people go to that. If you ever get down to the Atlanta area, Old Car City is supposed to be a really great place to shoot old cars that have been sitting in a junkyard for years.
Yep.
Jeff, do you know, I signed up for that seminar, but I'm quickly looking in my email. Would it be from Mike's website? I completely forgot all about it. Like, where would I find my?
It's on the Wacko website under program.
Yeah,
And then
but
that's where my confirmation will be?
Yeah, actually, I haven't sent anything out yet. It's going to go out on Friday and
Okay.
Saturday morning.
Thank
I
you.
think
Perfect.
there's okay, because I think there's a link in the newsletter too to get tickets for that also.
Yeah.
It'll take you to the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I already
And
have the tickets. That's why I was looking for my confirmation.
No, I
Oh,
should have
okay.
it's been strange because I'm not running it and I do things a little differently, but I'm the one that's fulfilling the Zoom part, but I didn't get the Zoom link till just a couple days ago from Pat. And then I go, well, I'm not going to send it out till I've got everybody nailed down because it's a little complicated on how we have to send them out. So we're trying a new system with Wacko, and it's a little harder than we thought it would be. So, but you should get them Friday. Sometime on Friday will be the first time you'll get the link, and then Saturday morning at 8 o'clock you should get the second link, same link again. Sort of like how you get it here, but I have to do this all manually, and it's just a little trickier than I thought it would be. So,
Well, thank you, Jeff.
but I'm getting that question from a lot of people. So
I just count on something showing up at some point.
yeah,
And if I don't have it by Saturday, I know how to reach you.
Yeah, that's the bad part. Everybody's going to call me,
Yep.
and I'm not in charge.
All right, PSA. Anything exciting?
Well, PSA chapter has Brenna Nicole. She's going to talk about blending time with astrophotography. She's a very good speaker on night photography and astrophotography. I had her on Digital Forum, and it was very interesting. So that's what PSA chapter is having. To join chapter, you have to be a member of PSA, and then you can join the chapter for $5. And then they also have in May, they are going to Green Bay and photographing in Green Bay for the weekend, which should be pretty interesting. There's an awful lot of stuff to photograph in Green Bay. Most people don't know about it. They've done a lot of research, and they've got a pretty good trip all planned out for everybody. So other than that, I don't think there's much else in PSA itself. They have a photo festival that's in fall that's going to be in Las Vegas, which some people think isn't good, but actually Las Vegas is an inexpensive place to fly to and has a ton of interesting places to photograph. Red Rock Canyon, Valley of Fire, the Boulder Dam. They've got a mountain, so you can get into cooler weather if you don't like the heat, if you're going during a hot time. Fall's a nice time to go. It's not real hot, and the hotel prices generally are pretty good. I'm not sure what PSA has for prices, but so that trip could be interesting as well.
So I would, if you are, especially if you are a workshop kind of person, I would encourage you to go check out Brennan Nicole's site. She's got some really cool, so like she does a Milky Way workshop in the White Sands area, and she's got one on a ranch. So like her picture is horses with star trails behind them, and like an old bunch of old buildings with Milky Ways. So her night sky work is fabulous, and she's got a lot of very cool looking workshops as well. So check her out. What else? What else?
Let's see. Well, for digital forum, we just had Dan Anderson. We have I had a
The On One guy is coming up next, right?
Yeah, Chris Scott
Ah,
on
Chris.
one is coming, and then I've got a couple others. I'm working with Gary from Hunt's Camera. He's been very good at getting me some speakers. I got Ben Canute. I can't remember what I have him talking about. I've got a Simon, I can't remember his last name, talking about car photography. And I'm going to have a few more. I've got
Hey, Jeff.
Jason O'Dell. Yeah.
Have we ever tried to get a hold of, or did you get a hold of Michael Anderson to do the light photography?
No, I never did get a hold of him.
Okay.
I've been so busy, I'm having a hard time just taking care of some of my stuff. We do have 1 month, April, I believe, is still open for our club that we're looking for somebody. And yeah, I got Ben Canute. I got Jason O'Dell in June for Digital Forum. And in November, I just got Brian Hansel set up. So I've got a good run of people coming.
Sounds
But
like it.
yeah, we do for our group, we do need where did I have that? I got that here. Oops,
April.
Lisa Langell, and I think the following month we don't have somebody yet.
I think you're right.
So we have a backup video that we can play if we wanted to. I'm not sure if we want to go that way or not, but we'll see. I've got another month to find somebody. I think Gary might be able to help me.
Oh, that's the May. We're in March. So April is Lisa. May is open.
Yeah. Oh, May.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I can't believe we're in March.
I forgot we're in March. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
April is Lisa. May would be
Open. Yeah. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any other club news questions before we go into show and tells?
I do have a question, but it's not really, it's more PSA question, Jeff. I know my membership is expiring, and I just quickly looked again online right now. What is the difference, other than $100 and some between an actual individual membership and the digital membership?
It's just the magazine is digital if you get the digital membership, and the more expensive membership you get the magazine.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I usually suggest the digital unless you like paper.
I'm changing right now. Yes, it's renewal time.
Because it's quite a bit cheaper to go digital, and it saves them killing another tree.
Does PSA send out a reminder? I did the 5-year sign up thing, but I feel like that was like 10 years ago. And I know it wasn't, but it's got to be due soon.
They do sometimes.
Okay, so I should just go look it up.
Yeah, best thing is go sign in and look it up if you can find it on their website.
I know, that's why I didn't want to do that, but that's okay. Well,
And I've struggled to try to find that area myself, and they're redoing the website, so things keep getting moved.
Okay.
But
you actually save more money if you sign up now. They're going to increase the prices in another month or so.
Really?
Yes.
Even if I don't expire for 2 years, can I sign up again for extended?
Yes.
Okay, I'll look into it then. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think we
Um,
just just paid for our dues, right? For a year or two.
yeah, I'll have to go look. Bummer. Okay, like soon. Um, all right, show and tell. We have Brian and Clint. Clint, you sound like you're ready.
Well, I am ready, but mine's probably the longest, so Brian might be better.
Brian.
I can do mine.
Okay.
Let's see, share my screen. So this is from last year.
I think you need to hit one more button because you're not sharing yet.
Okay, let's see.
Hit share once you get the pop-up window.
I hit share.
And then the pop-up window will come, and then you need to hit share one more time on that pop-up window.
Yeah, I didn't see a pop-up window. Let's see. Okay, now I see it.
There you go.
Okay.
It's gonna take a
So
second, I think, to kick in, but there, yeah. Now we see the blood moon.
yep. This was from last year. My plans were to have been up all night last night, photographing the eclipse last night, but Mother Nature didn't cooperate. So this is from last year. That was at the peak. And then this was the full eclipse. It was about a 7 hour eclipse. So it started about 11 o'clock and ended about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Nicely done.
Just one of my moon shots. 3-day-old moon. Um, Lots of nice detail in there. This was Comet Lemon. That was from last year. That was probably a stack of 20 2-minute exposures. So it took quite a bit to get the detail out, but turned out nice in the end. And then did some Milky Way photography out at the observatory.
Nice.
My wife and I have been doing a lot of hiking, a lot of the Ice Age Trail, so the yellow slash. Um, always interesting, lots of different trails. This is up in the West Bend area. This is West Bend too. This is Devil's Staircase. I'm out in Janesville. And here's where you can see it gets its name. And then as we're out hiking, I get a lot of wildlife shots. Um, this is up at Schlitz Autobahn.
Good lighting.
Yeah, it was just a nice day. I do spend a lot of time out in Burlington, photographing the egrets and the blue herons. you like photographing egrets, it's a place to go. And I was shooting photos at the end of the evening. All the egrets were coming in and going to the tree line, and my wife counted 50 of them in the trees.
Wow.
This is just a couple weeks ago out at Schlitz Autobahn. I did go up to Oak Creek and catch the snowy owl. It was just getting right at sunset, so not great lighting, but and then last year my son gave me a call and says there's some baby owls up by us, so spent a few nights up there. And this is something I get out to every year. I go down to um, Lake Geneva for the snow sculpting competition, and it's always fun to see what everybody's created. This was a second place last year or this year. So that's what I have.
Well, those moon shots were beautiful. The detail was great.
Oh, thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you did the picture of the observatory with the Milky Way behind it, that's the
Uh-huh.
one in Racine, correct?
That's a what?
The one in Racine
Yeah.
or right
Mhm.
near Racine? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The reason
Mhm.
I'm asking is I have a friend who lives on the southern side of Wisconsin, and we shot the Milky Way there. But because all the planes love to come in to Chicago, I got a
Yep.
lot of flashing lights from the planes, and I didn't see any from yours. Did you get rid of them, or how do you get rid of them?
Um, that was actually a pretty good night. I didn't have to take much of anything out. But I patiently wait. I have a good line of sight for O'Hare from the one side of the observatory. So, I had it on a remote and made sure there was nothing in the scene. But yeah, it took a little patience um, just to get several good shots to put together to create that one without planes. But yeah, O'Hare traffic is a nightmare for us because they do come pretty much straight north over us. So
What time of year was that photo taken?
that was in, I want to say October. I can go back there if you want. So yeah, the planes come right through here from O'Hare, and it is a pain. And now when you're doing deep sky, it's even more of a pain because now you've got all the satellites in there too. Like this, the comet here. I shot probably 100 shots, and 60% of them had a satellite in them, so I had to take them out. But that's the way it is now.
Was the Milky Way photo stacked images or a single image?
I want to say it was like a stack of 5 maybe. So it wasn't a huge stack.
It's very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, you can see sort of the light pollution along the horizon there from Chicago and even a lot of the smaller cities around us now are um, emitting a lot of light, like Union Grove and Burlington and that, just because everybody's gone to the LED lighting. Doesn't cost much to run, so they jack up the power.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to find communities that don't want to keep the lights from shining up so much.
Yep.
What lens did you use for that, Brian?
This was on my Canon 90D, so it's a 1.6 crop, and this was a 10 millimeter Rokinon.
Beautiful
Would this-
pinpoint stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would this group like to have me bring in a speaker on night photography? Like Brendan?
I would be interested. It's something I've been wanting to learn. So I think that would be a great topic.
Yeah, it would be a good one.
Yeah, Brian, you get us all interested in it now.
If you guys are interested again, I can bring you out to the observatory. So
And Brian, you must have taken the color off from the city lights too, right? I don't see
um,
any color over that.
yeah, there's not as much color anymore when you get out here because they're going to the white LEDs.
Okay.
There's a lot less of the sodium vapor lights now.
Yeah, that helps a little bit, but
Yeah, it helps, but it hurts too because the
Yeah.
sodium vapor you were able to use filters to remove. Well, you can't remove the white because that's all your stars.
yeah. Hmm. Interesting. And I love your moon shots. I think that one shot you had is really nicely put together. And I love that.
Yeah, like I say,
Was that-
what's that?
Was that through a telescope?
Yeah, this was probably with my 2000 millimeter. Um, but yeah, like I say, you start zooming in and you can see all this extra detail.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And I know these were shot with my 900 millimeter.
Yeah, nicely put together. I like that whole series. That's a lot
Thank
of
you.
work. I know that.
Yeah,
a lot of
I,
hours up.
my plans today were to spend the whole night shooting and then get a couple hours sleep and then spend the day processing them all. But
Yeah.
the clouds
Mother
ruined that.
Nature did not cooperate.
No.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Clint, that means you're up.
Yep. Well, yep. Stop sharing. Share. Screen. Share. All right. Let's try this. All right. So this is one of the aircrafts I have flown. This is Port Washington. This is all these pictures are done with my cell phone. So not one is with my regular camera. So this is in Sarasota, a hotel I stayed at. Nighttime photography works out really nice with the camera. I like the building, how it looks and how it rises up from the ground. I was down there between Helene and Milton. So you can see the first one came through and you can see some of the boats are up on its side. This one made the world news because this made it on land, and that this was like a couple days, 4 days after I left. Then the hurricane came back again and took that one up on the shore. Thunderstorms coming in, like a shelf cloud. This is Siesta Keys where the made landfall. So I was there for the sunset. So the sea cruise. Thought that was building was pretty cool. What you'd see in Dubai, Cape Canaveral, sea cruise, nice dinner place. None of these pictures are edited. You know, I didn't do any enhancing with the colors or anything like that. So whatever the camera, whatever my smartphone got, this is it. Jamaica. Cayman Islands, they got chickens that like to go all over and run.
Yeah, they do.
Mexico. So it's chilling at the beach.
Wait, we're still on your Navy plane.
Still on my Navy plane.
But I think your backdrop, I think you stopped sharing.
No.
No, she's still showing.
Yep.
I'm not seeing any. Now I see Jeff.
No, you
Okay.
must have hit the wrong button. But anyways, these are my three omelets that I had, and usually I had 3 steaks that each day. So you got to have fill up when you're doing all your running around. Cape Canaveral.
Food on the cruise ship is nice.
Some of it's getting kind of crappy unless you get to the higher end stuff. I like the hallway here. I like my cars. I like the house here that was for sale for like 9-10 million. I like the moss that's hanging from the trees. This is in Orlando. I like how the trees were just like reaching the skies. So I like that angle. Some of the houses I like. Got to watch out for the alligators there.
Now I see what's happening too. Okay. I was stuck in the hallway on the ship.
Maybe I'm going a little too fast. Everyone see the bird?
Yep.
I don't know what bird that is. This
Nope.
bird
I'm looking at the moss, so there's must be lag time.
must be.
Just keep going forward.
Yep.
I'm
Anyways,
amazed at the smartphone. I mean, the
Yeah.
camera and smartphones are see the bird. Okay,
I
the
forget what-
smartphones are great. I mean, fantastic.
yeah, they don't do too bad. I forget what name this bird is, but this bird doesn't float on water, so it's only its head sticks out of the water. So it's like I don't know how good it works with the alligators in the swimming pool there.
Oh.
That's a cormorant.
No, that's an Anhinga.
Anhinga.
Is that an Anhinga?
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah, it looks like an
City-
Anhinga to me.
City is Chicago at night landing in. Of course, I love my Ferraris.
Clint, you need to go to Road America. There is a lot of Ferraris there.
So this showroom floor is like a museum and that, so just gorgeous. Prototype
Did you
Ferrari.
drive one back?
That's coming up.
Clint, did you-
Hang
did
on. Let
you-
me tell you a story first. And that this car, this is a Koenigsegg. This is over 3 million. So here's an 812 Ferrari. So here's a Rolls-Royce Dawn that I took out on New Year's Eve. So I liked it so much I came back on Friday to take it out again. But I'll tell you more about that later.
Did you buy it on Monday?
This is no, because that was on Friday. So, but anyways, this is the Palmer House in Chicago. I was there for New Year's Eve. This is right before all the big parties in there at night. Like the Chicago River, this is where they set up the lit up the fireworks for New Year's Eve. The peacock doors. Okay, this is when I came back on Friday, the Rolls-Royce Dawn and the Rolls-Royce Culligan, which I both took out that day. I like the grill, how it looks. Suicide doors. The galaxy with the stars in it. This was an electric Spectre Rolls-Royce. One I took out was a black badge one. Now I'm back at the Ferrari dealership again. Of course, I had to stop there again on the way back home. There's my 812 Ferrari I love. I like how low some of these cars are, but going into driveways and speed bumps aren't too very friendly. Vintage Ferrari, 911, Porsche. Back of my Ferrari, McLaren. Here's the inside of the Ferrari. Here's Chicago. Here's all the traffic. I mean, it's like downtown Chicago with all the airplanes. I mean, it was non-stop airplanes. So flying back down to Florida again, you could see all the snow and stuff like that. Tennessee and Kentucky. I love the window view because I love looking out the window day and night. I love how seeing, each city lives, see like this one with the big circle with all the houses built around. So I thought that was interesting to take a look at. This was the Everglades. This is Miami. Oh, of course, here's my Rolls-Royce and Ferrari. Another Ferrari. Some of the hotels down there, beautiful decor hotels. That's my hotel I stayed at. This was this bubble in between, I call it. This is the Betsy ORB, some sort of art sculpture. And then this is Miami Beach. Of course, dinner. Every day I ate outside, breakfast and dinner. The only time I didn't eat indoors was only one time when I went to the Brazilian steakhouse. Sunrise. I thought this was cool. Right before this was like a little green. So you only have like a second to take a picture of it green. So all the other times I didn't see it. So every day I was up before sunrise. I didn't go to bed until after midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Downtown Miami. I love my yachts. This has to be well over 100, maybe 200, 300 million, maybe even 400 million. some more big monster yachts. This picture is the oldest bridge in Miami. So I took a sea cruise, check out the Millionaire Rose and that. Some of these, like this house is Shakira's house. You know, my hips don't lie. This is Ricky Martin's house. Now this house right here, hopefully everyone's seeing this house. It looks like a big palace. This house is, I guess, supposedly 170 million plus. Well, who lives here is the person that invented that blue pill, Viagra. Well, he worked very hard to get this house. So it's like, well, I suppose, I mean, if it costs $100 million, you got to bust your butt off. Another picture of it. Then they did a flyover with Blue Angels, Air Force Thunderbirds, because I was down there for the Miami International Boat Show. I didn't go there, but I seen, as you see with some of the pictures, I've seen some of the yachts. This I thought was interesting. This is the first time I ever seen how they load cars on a cargo ship, how they're like open to the environment. So I was kind of surprised to see that. Forget what type of tree this is. I had it saved, but I didn't want to show the picture. But I love how it spreads out like a canopy. Rolls Royce Phantom. I love the arc. They're building bridges and that, and I love how looking straight up. I took a shot of this. And this is one of the places I went to eat too, in that. Great places to eat. Some of the places were actually pretty reasonable. Now these are all the hotels in, well, one of them. But I got more pictures of that. Sunrise again. Oh, here's a Rolls Royce and Ghost in front of my hotel. Ferrari. And I went to this kind of high-end women's clothing exhibit thing. This is the name of the place. But some of the stuff was, I mean, super gorgeous, super nice. But like I said, it's nice to have a smartphone because it's really everyone carries a smartphone with them, and it's a lot easier than carrying your big camera everywhere.
Didn't you get sensory overload? I mean, just looking at all this stuff.
No, you can see the detail. No,
I know, but I mean, you look one place, there's spark. Oh God, all these curated collections. That's what I'm amazed at. Oh my God, I love that one. I don't
like
know
this.
where the floor starts and the walls begin.
Yeah. So you do different angles, different positions. You know,
Yeah.
some of the stuff is cool in that. So some of it really makes stand out. And with the lighting, like, oh, you know what? This is a great shot, great viewpoint. And then, you know, some of these, like, it's just like glows.
Is that like a museum, Clint?
It's somewhat a museum. It's a short exhibit. It's only going to be until June or July.
Is that at the Dolce Gabbana store?
They actually went to the store. Yes, this is actually part of it. They have an exhibit.
Okay.
So, and this is what I went to. And some of the stuff you can see. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Oh, here's another Rolls Royce Dawn.
A little segue, huh?
And of course, with you working up on appetite all day, you got to stop at the Brazilian steakhouse.
Oh God.
Of course, that got to have dessert. This was pretty interesting. I thought this was cool. This is a little walkway. This was an apartment complex. Like, this is gorgeous, this little walkway. And then this is Miami at night from my side, where I stayed. I stayed in Miami Beach. And like I said, these places, this is Ocean Drive with all the decor hotels. It's just all lit up beautiful at night. And like I said, the camera does a great job. No tripod, nothing. All these pictures are handheld. We're almost at the end. I know I'm kind of going through here a little quick. I'm not quite sure if the computer, the internet is catching up with speed with me going through each picture.
Mine is working fabulous.
Okay, good.
Yeah, if you have
You've
fast
got some
internet, it's
great
gonna be fine.
shots for
The sunrise and that.
sunrise, yeah.
I like Miami Beach here. I took several pictures of this, different angles, different positions. I love how they look like, you know, I don't want to say skyscrapers, but you know, the beach, you know, Miami Beach, the lettering. I tried different angles. I thought it was really cool. Old classic car. Of course, another Rolls Royce. And then sunrise again. And then they had cats, wild cats, by City Hall. Of course, another Rolls Royce, but that's not a black badge. So I guess the guy didn't want to spend another extra $70,000, $80,000. So that's a cheaper one. Chick was driving this car, new SF90. And then here's the black badge. Like the chandelier. Another place where I ate at. Another Ferrari 812. And then the sunrise. Oh, I love how that sun is just kind of melting into the ocean. Another view. I like the mirror image where it had a little of the spear in the bottom of the ocean. So I thought that was a cool shot. I love the sailboat and I like the long ray of light. And that's the last picture. I thought this looks like almost like a picture or a painting, but that was actually looking out at Miami airport. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it was a little, I went into overtime. And anyone have any questions for smartphone pictures? It does a halfway decent job.
I kind of want to go there now.
We'll go.
Yeah.
It's always 70 and 8. Well, I don't want to say always and that because a week before it got down to like in the 20s. So the iguanas were freezing and dropping from the trees.
Dropping. Okay.
How long were you there?
Miami, like a week.
Oh, wow, you pack a lot in.
But not all those pictures are from Miami.
Right.
Then, you know, but yeah, I was there. Yeah, like I said, every
Okay.
day I had the most I had when I was in Miami was like 5 hours of sleep. There was 2 days I had only 2 and 3 hours of sleep, and that was it. Just go, go, go.
Mhm.
You can rest when you're on vacation. You just got to do all the stuff you can do. You can always rest when you get home.
Right. What cell phone are you using?
The Samsung S24 Ultra. So it's got 5 lenses, and that it's got the ultra wide, which is 0.6 zoom, which
Mhm.
equals to 13 millimeter. That 13 millimeter works out great for indoor shots and that. And then I got 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, and 5 times.
Very good.
Amazing. Okay.
But I did like that women's art, the women's stuff and that. I thought that was cool. Some of the expensive shoes that they had one, I went in Chanel and that. They had this like cashmere sweater and that. It was only like 4,600 or $800. So with tax, it's going to be past 5,000. I actually held it. I was like, man, this thing is pretty nice.
Okay.
But the Rolls Royces are incredible to drive. The most smoothest and most easiest vehicle you would drive ever. And quiet.
They let you
What
test
type of
drive it.
price tags?
A brand new one, if you get the Culligan black badge, the one that they have at the dealership, right, the one I took out, asking price is 589,000. So with Wisconsin sales tax, you're past 650.
Did they let you go out alone?
No,
Okay.
but they're not going to let some random person off the street take them and that. So, and like I said, I took both of them off the showroom floor.
Okay.
Oh, that takes a little
Wow.
bit more, yeah.
Little sweet talking, huh?
No, you got to have more than sweet talking. You got to have they do basically a credit check on you.
Wow.
So yeah, with something like that, they're not, yeah. So any other questions, guys? No?
Thank you for sharing. That was a fun trip to take with you. Jeff, did you get any pictures for the colorful?
A couple. Hopefully I spelled everybody's name right. I did this while Jamie was talking, so.
All right, and while you're doing that, I have to drop because 4:45 comes way too early in the morning, and it's
Okay.
getting for me.
Well, this
So,
is less than a minute long, so it's
Okay.
not going to take long.
all right.
Okay, let's see here. I got to go to this desktop. Share sound. I'm not even sure. I picked a piece of music and I don't even know if it's any good or not. Come on, fingers. It's getting too late too. Can't seem to click the right buttons here. I got a new mouse and it's a pain. All right. Here we go.
Ooh, that candy apple. Great. Now I want one, and it's time to go to bed.
So that was it. We had 12 images. So.
Good. All right. Anyone have anything else? If not, we can call it a night.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Ken, you cannot renew your PSA unless it's within 60 days of expiring.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you hit the 60-day before your expiration, a link will show up next to your membership type that says renew now. So
Bet they don't have a lifetime membership.
yeah, you can get 1, 2, or 3 years, but you can't do it until you're within a 60-day window of your expiration.
I found a place where I could download a PDF and print out a form and mail it in. And I did that, and they renewed it for me, even though it was more than 60 days.
Oh, all right. Then a new mission tomorrow. I'm finding the PDF. I'm doing the same thing before the price because I expire at the end of October. So I will go find the PDF.
There you go. One way to work around it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Have a good month. And I'll see you next month. Bye.